Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Brooke Van Sickle. She is here to celebrate her debut picture book, Pirates Stuck at Sea. Before we invite Brooke back into the show, we want to invite you to join us at two amazing live events that are happening this spring in the Boston area. On March 21st, the Reading with Your Kids podcast is going to the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library. We're going to have a great 3-hour event at my favorite branch of the Boston Public Library with magic shows, magic lessons, a great parenting workshop, story times, and so much more. Come on out, noon to 3, March 21st at the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library. The Reading with Your Kids podcast will also be at the South Shore Kids Expo, April 5th at Kingston Collection in Kingston, Massachusetts. This is going to be a great event. We will be presenting our magic show. We'll also have a totally interactive Reading with Your Kids booth at the South Shore Kids Expo, April 5th at Kingston Collection in Kingston, Massachusetts. Joining us on the line right now from the beautiful state of Iowa, she is returning to the show. She is returning as a newly published author. Please welcome back the author of Pirates Stuck at Sea, Brooke Van Sickle. Brooke, how are you?
Hi, Jed. I'm great. Thanks so much for having me back.
I'm really excited for you. Brooke was here probably about a year ago, maybe longer, because she had a fantastic blog called The Journey to KidLit. Am I ever get the blog title right?
Yep, Journey to KidLit.
And we had a great conversation about her journey to becoming a published children's author. And one of the things that I was really impressed with when I connected with Brooke was that she was taking the process of becoming an author really seriously. Like a lot of authors come on the show and there's no judgment, but they say, I got an idea one day and I wrote a story and someone liked it and they said, you should be an author and you should submit this. And I did. And here I am. And that's great. And those books are great, but you took a very, very different approach to it. And, you were very calculated. And I loved that. I was very impressed with that. And I'm really excited to discover that the fruit of all that work and planning is Pirates Stuck at Sea. Tell us all about the book, please.
Yeah, so Pirates Stuck at Sea is an alphabet adventure. So Captain Scallywag's my main character, and he sails onto the shore of an island where he thinks it's the perfect place for treasure. But as you travel throughout the book, you realize that his crew is a bunch of little zany mishaps, and like Daryl's stuck in deep waters and Killian's tangled in kelp, and no one's finding any treasure, so you have to help them along the way.
That's cool. Yeah. What was it that inspired you to write an alphabet book?
Well, I like to play with different concepts, and I like to challenge myself with different writing challenges. And one day I was reading highlights in the jokes section, and I saw one of their jokes was for the Pirates Stuck at Sea, and I thought that would make a really great title. So I started playing around with an alphabet book, and it just led down the path to this finished copy. But it did take me 30 drafts before I finally had a solid book, which might be surprising considering it's just an alphabet book. You'd think the structure would already be there, but you still had to weave a storyline into it. And so that was fun, and it was challenging, and I enjoyed learning all the different C words.
Well, a lot of folks, I think of picture books as being pretty simple to write, but they're not. You have a limited number of words you can use, and you still have to have a story that's coherent and good and interests people and draws kids in. And kids are kids are a fickle audience. You know, it's not just they're not easy to entertain and to capture. So it takes a lot of work. So it makes sense that you had to really work at this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted it to be creative and fun and entertaining too. I didn't want it to just be like A's for apple. You know, I wanted it to be a little more crafty and something that'll make the kids giggle a little bit. Like we have Jughead with a jellyfish sting, and my illustrator, Gabrielle Dieppe, she did an amazing job with making things really silly, and she has awesome art, so it's a really cool piece.
Yeah, I'm checking out the cover art, and it's very fun, it's very colorful, the colors are very vibrant. And the other thing is that pirates, kids, for some reason that I don't get at all, dig pirates.
Pirates are awesome, that's why.
I tell you, my son was pirate crazy. To the point
really?
where I you know, my there was one day it was just pirate, and it was like after a month of it, and I'm like, going, dude, you got to stop. Nah.
Yeah. Well, I think they're awesome. We used to watch the pirates on Peter Pan all the time, and then try to pretend like we were one of the Lost Boys, and so I get it. I really enjoy them.
What was all these characters who you came up with? What was it? What do you have a favorite?
I think Jughead is my favorite because it had a lot of play on alliteration. He was jumping from a jellyfish, so I enjoyed that. But after Gabriella did all the art, my favorite spread is the one with Marty and his mermaids, just because of all of the detail and the coloring that she put in on that. That's probably my favorite page.
It's wonderful. Now, one of the things we should mention is that you're self-published.
Yes, so I started a publishing house, actually.
Mm-hmm. And what was that experience like?
So that was an unexpected turn. Originally, I was going to do a traditionally published house, and then I was talking to a New York Times bestselling author, Ruth Soukup, and she was like, you should just do it yourself. And so I just dove in head first and just decided to do this because I wanted to be able to give back to education at some point.
Uh-huh.
And as a traditionally published picture book author, you make like 15 cents a book. So like the ability to give back would be really slim on that. So I decided to create the publishing house, and I've had a lot of really awesome opportunities with that, not only with getting my own work out there, but helping like Gabriella. This is her first book. My next book that comes out in June, that'll be the illustrator's first book as well. So helping other authors and illustrators get their start. And so 50% of the profits go back to help fund reading initiatives at low-income schools. And right now we partnered with 2 different charities that we're giving back to, but eventually we want to move into like local opportunities and really partner with schools directly. So it's opening up a lot of opportunity with that.
That is very, very cool and also very generous. I love that. Is that the biggest difference between being what I refer to as self-published and opening up your own publishing house, or is there more to the difference?
Well, when you get self-published, it's really simple. You can just go on KDP, which is Amazon's publishing house, and you don't have to do a lot of back work. You obviously can, even as a self-publisher, you can do a few more things to make it a little more like your own. Like you could pay for an ISBN. There's some technical things you could do in addition, but it doesn't take as much work. Where when I'm starting a publishing house, it was a lot more business stuff. So I had to get like an EIN and an LLC and all these business sides. Plus I had to find a printer, like a local printer that would make them in the hardcover copies. And so that was a fun challenge, was finding who even does that around in America, because a lot of it is overseas. And then just dealing with making sure the page layout and the coloring and all that. So it really made me more of like the publisher and editor like you would see in a traditional sense. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was great for experience. And then eventually I'll be able to reach out and sign with more authors. So it won't just be my name on all the books. Eventually we'll have a collection of authors too.
Well, that was going to be my next question. If you're looking to reach out and to publish other authors.
Yes. had to get my feet wet first with mine to see how it goes and how like the profit margins are and the sales and the marketing and all of that. And then once we're established, so in 2021, we'll probably open it up where we can start signing with additional authors too. And we have a submissions box on our site too. So if anyone ever wants to stay connected, they can.
That's wonderful. I'm imagining that, being so businesslike in terms of how you approach this, I imagine that, the book is just out and you have a marketing plan behind you.
Yes, the marketing plan actually started in November, where Pirates came out in February. So the marketing started way before even most of the illustrations were done. But yes, and we have an ongoing one for 2020, and it includes our upcoming books as well. But so in March, so this month, we have a launch month, essentially, with preschools and daycares in the area where we're going and speaking to a bunch of different classrooms there and sharing with all the kids. So that's been really exciting. It's a little bit different than a normal launch party because you normally host it at a bookstore. But we wanted to do something different with this book. And we've done interviews like this and done more blogs and guest posting and just reaching out to libraries. I'm actually featuring this book at a local library for a story walk this summer. So it'll be available when people go around. There's this nature area, so all the pages will be available as you walk. So that'll be really exciting once that comes too.
That's wonderful. One of the reasons I mentioned is that we do have a lot of authors who listen to the show. And I think one of the things that just blow authors' minds, they think that I am an artist and I am here and I am doing this creative process and I love this and this is my baby and all I've ever wanted to do was to be a writer and to express myself. And then they get that first author copy back and somewhere along the line it kind of hits them that, now I have to be in charge of marketing this book.
Yes.
If you're with a traditional publishing house, you are really responsible for the lion's share of the marketing.
Exactly. Yeah. You could write the best book ever, but if you don't know how to sell it, no one will know to read it. So you have to have like a really strong marketing. And like we talked about, I have Journey to KidLit, and on there we actually teach people how to market their books too, because it is such an intimidating thing for a lot of writers, especially when most people are introverted and they don't feel like they can put themselves out there. But there's a bunch of different ways that you can get connected. You can use social media. There's free options. There's paid options. But so we try to help and teach people how to do that too.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your Journey to KidLit blog, because I think it is a great service. And now that you are published and you've completed the first part of your journey in getting Pirates Stuck at Sea published and out into the world, I think it's time for folks to take another look at Journey to KidLit and find out what it is that you offer on the website and what kind of services you offer.
Yes. So we teach everything from how to write a kid's book, how to get published. We have both self-publishing and traditional, and how to market once you are published. And we've actually started to do some products. So we have additional nonfiction books that are to help directly on there. We've added courses and workbooks that also help to go deeper off of those. And then I have a really great email list. So I send out weekly tips every single week to my entire list that just explains more in depth and what's going on, and I share insights onto how my publishing journey has been going and what I've learned and what they can take away from that to help them do better, because our goal is to get every book possible on a children's bookshelf.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that may have surprised listeners was hearing, what you said, that author, the traditionally published author, told you that those authors typically get 15 cents for every book that they sell. And that probably woke up a lot of people. Probably thinking, wait, what? 50? How much? I've heard different numbers, but I've never heard anything more than 50 cents per book. And I think that surprises folks. What other kind of surprises did you experience in your journey to KidLit?
Yes. So, since I decided to go this direction, I did an interesting way. I didn't have any illustrators to begin with. I knew I needed to make a picture book, so I put it out for submissions. I was surprised that people actually submitted, but then I had all of these submissions I had to sift through, and I had to do interviews and samples, so that was really exciting and a little surprising of all the people that are like wanting to do it. And I'm also a member of the Twitter writing community, so getting everyone's insight and just like, I don't know, like I didn't realize how much time you needed in advance. Mm-hmm. So like I was trying to do reviews, and a lot of people for reviews wanted 3 months, or, you know, the traditionally published books will come out so early. I have a friend, we both had books that came out within a week of each other, and she had her copy way before I did. So it's like learning curves where I'm like, oh, I need to make sure that these weeks are set. This is how long it could take with a printer. There can be problems. Like, so it's just a nice learning curve.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What were some of the most pleasant surprises that you encountered in your journey?
I really enjoy all the support that everyone gives you. Mm-hmm. When I told people I had a book coming out, the excitement and all the people that are willing to help is always really pleasantly surprising, because you work on this thing for so long and you do it by yourself, and then you get a little scared to tell people. And so to see how many people want to back you and support you is really exciting. And it really helps with the launch too. Like, it's nice to have people cheering you on and to feel like you're supported.
Yeah, that is one of the things that was a really wonderful surprise for me when I started the Reading with Your Kids podcast. I had done a couple other podcasts in the past, and they were fun. But what really got me excited about this podcast is very quickly I discovered that the KidLit community, the community of authors that exists out there, it's an incredibly supportive community. And folks are not only willing to promote their own thing, but they're willing to promote others' books and review and share. And even though technically authors, children's authors are competitors, and that, there's only so many books each family can buy, and every author wants families to buy their books. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that competitive nature out there. In fact, I feel the opposite. I feel a real, that authors are collaborative. And maybe that's strange, because being an author is such a solitary endeavor.
Exactly. But no, they're so supportive, and that's like what makes it so exciting when you have a group of people and you can cheer them all on. I think the KidLit community does a really good job of that.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you have a couple of other books that are in the wings and will be available at some time in the not-too-distant future. Can you give us a little preview of those books?
Yes. So my next book comes out in June, and I'm really excited about it. It's illustrated by Stephanie Vanderpool, and her illustrations are hilarious. The book is called Humans in Training. It's about Buster. He's a puppy who has to train as humans. And if anyone's ever had a dog, you know that you're not the one that's in charge. Most of the time you think it's going to go one way, and then the puppy sort of shapes your life. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of a play on that. We have a dog, so it was kind of inspired through him, and all the antics that she's created in the book are above and beyond and really hilarious. So I think it's going to be a good read for parents and kids and anyone who's ever experienced a puppy.
That's pretty awesome. I can feel that. I have Augie the Wonder Dog is here with me in the studio, and he certainly has trained us. My wife laughs all the time. There is a certain spot. He has different spots that he'll sit in and look at me when he wants different things. If he sits in this spot in front of the front door, he wants one thing. If he sits over in this other area, he wants something else. And I understand it, and my wife thinks it's hilarious that I speak dog.
No, I think it's totally normal. Yeah, our dog, his name is Brandon, and he will come into my office at home and be like, Mom, it's 4 o'clock. You're supposed to be done working now. We have our conversation and our routine. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really wonderful. I'm really, really excited. If you mentioned that you have this neat kind of book launch month or book tour, you're touring different daycare centers and things like that. If there's a daycare center in Iowa or maybe beyond that would want to participate, are there ways for them to participate?
Yes. So if you're within the area, I will obviously travel, and so I have 2 different options for my school visits. I have a pre-K through kindergarten, so like the daycare, younger kids all the way through kindergarten. And then I also have for the older kids, 1st and 2nd grade, where we kind of break down and learn the basics of story building. But I also offer those as a Skype visit. So if you aren't within the Midwest area or, if travel's out of your budget, we can do a Skype and we can hang out and do the same thing. You can find out all that information on my website. It's at BrookeVanSickle.com. And I have all of that and all my links to my books and everything. And you can also stay tuned. I post all the images of all the current events we're at right now too.
That's awesome. And is that the same web address if folks are interested in learning how to become a published author?
If you want to learn to become one, you can go to journeytokidlit.com. So there's also a link from my Brooke Van Sickle website to that as well. But Journey to KidLit has all of the information on how to write and publish your own book. And then the Brooke Van Sickle is all directed towards me and learning more about me and what I'm up to.
That's awesome. Well, we've had such a fun time revisiting with our friend, the author of Pirates Stuck at Sea, and that's the letter C. Brooke Van Sickle. Brooke, thanks so much for being back on the show.
Thanks so much for having me again.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Courtney Jones. Courtney is a teacher, and she is the driving force behind Clear the List. This is a movement of teachers that really has taken over social media and is making a huge difference in classrooms all around the country. Be sure to check it out. That's the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it is a no-cost way to tell thousands of people about your fantastic book. All you need to do is go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button that you find at the bottom of that homepage. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Brooke Van Sickle. Be sure to check out Pirates Stuck at Sea. I want to thank the amazing team that helps put together this show. I want to thank my producer, Fatima Khan, for all she does for the show. I want to thank my amazing account executive, Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my beautiful wife. Of course, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.